Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Harding Football with Ronnie Huckeba. The Bisons a 35-14 winner on Saturday night. It was a hard-fought win after the Bisons fell behind for the first time this season, 7-0. And, Coach, after you're down 7-0 early in the second quarter, I thought your team responded outstanding. 7-play drive resulted in a 34-yard touchdown run by Zach Shelley, and then immediately special teams gets a turnover and you punch it in, and then you're up 14-7.
You know, a bunch of that, Billy, I think you have to give credit to Southern Arkansas and the way they prepared for this game. We knew it was going to be a very physical GAC football game against a quality opponent, and that turned out to be true. They gave us a different defensive look than they ever had before, and they did a great job with it. And, you know, we didn't get a lot going in the first quarter. And then, of course, the drive that you mentioned, followed by the turnover, the strip on the kickoff that was caused by Isaiah Jefferson. And unanimously as a coaching staff and I think as a team, we felt like that was the play of the game. That pretty much turned the game for us. We were able to take it in and convert immediately, and so, that was a big stretch for us in the second quarter.
And it's always great to be at First Security Stadium as the Bisons were getting ready to take the field on a beautiful night at First Security Stadium, Coach. And when I look down on the field and I see the band ready to go, they put on such a great performance before the game, and at halftime, your team was ready to go and happy to be at First Security Stadium Saturday night.
Well, you love it when you know your guys are ready to play, and you know they're ready to play, and you know the atmosphere is fantastic with the afternoon activities leading up to that, and you know, of course, you know, I love it when these guys are having fun. You know, this is a game, and it's supposed to be fun. It requires a whole lot of hard work to get ready to play and put a product out there on Saturday. But you know, that watching this clip here warms my heart. You know, I love to watch the guys take the field.
So a very exciting evening on Saturday night as the Bisons win it 35-14. Really played well on the second game at home against Southern Arkansas this season, and will be on the road this week against UAM. But before we talk about UAM and what's ahead for this football team, we have first half highlights to look at from the 35-14 victory, and we'll start that right after this.
Son, tell him that I've begun to dream of things to come, and tell the trees not to look for me. I'm going to find some peace of mind. Wake the sun. Wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun.
Back on Harding Football with Ronnie Huckeba. The Bisons are 3-0 now in the season. Only two teams in the Great American Conference can say that. It is Harding and Henderson State. We'll look at standings a little bit later on in the show as well. But we roll first quarter highlights right here with the Bisons against Southern Arkansas. And, Coach, it was a warm evening, but I didn't think that it really affected your football team. As we see Park Parrish, you've got the football here. And I thought that was a loose football at first, but it was Park's helmet.
Yeah. You know, it's a physical football game. And, you know, you could tell by the caliber of hitting that occurred throughout the game. Both teams playing really physical. You know, we had several times we had guys' helmets pop off. And, you know, that's just good football. That's the way the game is supposed to be played. It's a physical game. And, we do have to tighten our helmets up a little bit sometimes.
I thought Arthur Akers had an outstanding first half.
Arthur did, and you know, our entire defense played well, and that was a critical play right there. That was the field goal block, and that was actually Jensen Jackson coming up the middle and getting a hand on that thing. And you know, Jensen said, "Coach, I just barely touched it." And I said, "Well, you touched it enough."
Just enough. And it felt like an old AIC game to me in the first quarter with all that defense.
Right. And, you know, our our football team and the way we play and what we believe in starts with great defense. And when we're playing like we want to play, then we're playing great defense, we're causing turnovers, we're controlling the clock on offense and methodically moving the ball down the field, keeping our defense fresh. And we were able to do that as the game progressed, but man, we left our defense on the field a lot in the first half. And that's certainly not how we want to play.
Yeah. Michael Nunnery with the game's first points, and for the first time this year, you're down 7-0.
Right. And, that probably is good for us. To face a little adversity and have to come back from it. This is the handoff off tackle right there. That's Dwayne Carter. Glad to see Dwayne back from a little ankle sprain last week. That's the counterplay to Zach Shelley. And we were able to get a lot of mileage out of the toss in this ball game, and you can see Zach, he is so explosive, and what a great job of maintaining his balance and getting into the end zone.
Yeah, he was not going to be denied there. 7-7 at this point, and a key play in the football game occurs right here with Isaiah Jefferson.
We talked about this just a few minutes ago. Watch Isaiah take on the blocker, make the tackle, strip the football, and recover the fumble himself. Without a doubt, that was the play of the game, and completely changed the momentum. Hand the ball off in the first phase of the triple to Michael Latu. And this is the belly trap. We hand it off to Mike. He bounces it outside, and you can see now that's a 235-pound man with great quickness, and he gets into the end zone.
And just a two-play drive there, so you immediately cash that turnover in.
Right, which was critical. Here's our D again, and you can see our guys flying to the football and playing like we want them to play. This is another toss play right before the half, and that's Grant Kimberlin, who has great speed. When I first saw this play develop, I thought Grant was going to break it. And we come back, dump the ball off into the flat to Grant, and this is why we talk about ball security all the time. If you do not have the ball high and tight, you're going to get it knocked loose. Defenses thrive on those kind of situations, and if you don't secure the football, it's going to be a turnover, which was a good lesson for us to learn.
And so 14-7, that was the halftime score and where we stand right now in the highlights. And when you went into the halftime locker room, you deferred the option, obviously.
Right.
Won the toss. You knew you were going to get the football back. That's what the Bisons like to do. So that made that first drive of the third quarter very critical.
Without a doubt. And Billy, again, I was so pleased with our offensive coaches and the way they adjusted at halftime. We had to completely change our way of thinking based on what we had seen Southern Arkansas play against us in years past. Their basic defensive philosophy is to be really aggressive and attack you. And, in 2012, they basically attacked us and blitzed us right out of our offense. It was, they just stuffed us completely. Now, we've been able to counter that a little bit recently and had been able to make some really big plays against them. But they came out with a more basic plan, played very few fronts, played really strong defense, ran to the football, made good tackles, and I thought it was a good plan by them. At halftime, we were able to kind of adjust and go back to, okay, this is what we need to be doing, and our guys went out and executed it well in the second half.
And you could even see it in the second quarter. I mentioned the 7-play drive.
Right.
That seemed to really get things going for your football team and the adjustments that were made even in the second quarter as well.
Right. We started with that drive that you're talking about, but I thought we were more consistent moving the ball in the second half. We felt like we had kind of drawn a bead on them and were able to focus on a few things that we knew would be successful if we executed, and we were able to do that.
Okay, we are at halftime, and our highlights right now, the Bisons with a 14-7 lead at this point in the show. Stay with us. We'll come back with second half highlights right after this.
It's a short ride from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Find fun activities to do, like boating and biking, or camping and hiking, plus much more. To find a neighborhood park or green space near you, visit discovertheforest.org.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Harding Football with Ronnie Huckeba. 14-7 is the score at this point in our highlights as we start the third quarter highlights right now. The Bisons would get the football to begin play in the third quarter. Coach, I talked about a 7-play drive early in the game. Here's another big 7-play drive to begin the second half.
And we start with the toss again. As we saw in the first half, we got that play going, and it was very productive for us. This is the handoff to Dwayne, and Dwayne looks really healthy to me, which is a good thing. We get him to jump on the freeze play, and Andrew is behind the guy, and I thought that was going to be a touchdown, but he made a great adjustment on the ball and ended up making the reception. And we're right down on the goal line. We run the quarterback sneak. We get in for a touchdown. We knock the extra point down, and we're up 21-7, and we feel like at this point we're taking control of the football game.
Yeah, and Park Parrish and Andrew Dather hooked up with a couple of big pass plays in the football game.
Yeah, they really did. That early pass play, Andrew made a great catch on that. And here's the toss again, and that's Grant. And you can see his burst. We talked about that last week. He really has great speed. We come back, we run the triple, and we get the corner block. That's Eric Simmons. Grant Kimberlin out in front of him. And we do the same thing again, and this is a handoff to Mike. This is actually 2nd and 24, and he goes 62 yards. And as I said earlier, that's a big man who can really run.
Yeah, Michael Latu would rush for 136 yards in the game.
We run the off-tackle play, the belly trap again, and we run the quarterback sneak, and we were sure that we got in on that one, but we didn't. And so that was a 4th down conversion attempt that we did not make. So that obviously was very disappointing. But this wasn't. They try to run the bootleg, and that's Dalen Markham with a great play. He read it all the way and high pointed the ball and got the interception and the turnover for us. You know, this was a big game turnover-wise. That's the counter play right there to Eric Kelly. And we're running that play more and more, and it is a really effective play for us.
Bison's up 21-7 as we move into the fourth quarter.
Yeah, this is the first phase of the triple option. We hand it to Mike, and he goes in basically untouched, and now we're up 28-7.
We talk about him breaking tackles a lot of the time, but boy, he had some big holes to run through on Saturday night.
He really did. He really did. This is a great job by T.J. Winslow. You watch T.J. hawk the guy down, strip the football, recover it himself, stay in bounds. And it's another opportunity for us to get the ball back after a turnover.
Yeah, I thought that was just great instincts to be able to stay in bounds because it looked like that football was going out of bounds.
Without a doubt. And, you know, one of the stories of this football game is the turnover margin. You know, our defense forced 5 turnovers if you can count the kicking game play too. And this is great pressure on the quarterback. That's a sack by Trayvon Bigelow. And Trayvon was dominant in this football game, extremely dominant. Which is what we expect from him. This is another pick by Corey Bassett in the end zone, which is obviously a huge play. We're running the lead option, and Park keeps and gains a first down for us. This is midline with a good gain by Michael, obviously good blocking up front. This is their touchdown. And that's Will Haynes, their quarterback, who came in and did a good job for them. And that puts the score at 28-14. Onside kick attempt, it actually did not go 10 yards, which scared me a little bit. I was afraid we'd touch that ball, but we ended up getting it back anyway. This is the toss to Zach. This was a 3rd down play, a great conversion play for us. And we get the ball down to about the 14-yard line, and we ended up punching that in and making the final score 35-14.
Bison's winning. And I wanted to talk to you about the turnovers because that was, to me, a key stat in the football game. The 5 turnovers, when you can force 5 turnovers at home, that's a good sign.
And, you know, several of those turnovers were in the red zone when they had the ball in our red zone. You saw the strip of the football by T.J. Winslow and the interception in the end zone by Corey. And when you are able to turn someone away like that with no points, it is a big momentum killer for the other team. By the same token, if we turn the ball over, it's a big momentum killer for us. So We had too many turnovers, but due to the fact that our defense caused 5, we were able to get 5 turnovers. We won the turnover battle, and that's always a key stat in whether or not you win or lose a football game. And against a tough opponent like SAU, you anticipate a close game, a very hard-fought game. The turnover difference, I think, was huge in the outcome of the game.
And you wind up rushing for the evening, you get 459 yards of total offense, 385 on the ground. How big of a part of that was the offensive line there in the second half? I thought they were dominant in the second half.
You know, our offensive line continues to impress, and they continue to get better each week. I think what characterizes those guys is how hard they play. You know, they have a very physical attitude, which you have to play in this offense. And those guys, they have a lot of pride in their unit, and they work really hard during the week in practice to prepare. And they play with a nasty attitude on game day. And they got to continue to do that, because each week it's more and more and more of a challenge, because we're playing good football teams who, you know, they work hard too,
right,
and they want to play physical, and so we got to continue to be able to match that.
And now with the 35-14 victory on Saturday night, 3-0 for the Bisons. The polls are out, the national polls, the coaches poll. Now the Bisons in the top 25 at number 25.
You know, that's great, but at this point in the season, it really doesn't mean anything. What matters is how we are preparing and how we're going to play against UAM. That's really the only thing that matters. And I realize that when I say that, it's 100% coach speak, but it is the truth. You can't get caught up in polls. The only poll that really matters is the one that's taken at the end of the season, and you look back and see how you've done, and hopefully at the end of the year we will have advanced from that position.
All right, the Bisons win it again, 35-14. We're going to take a timeout right here. When we come back, we will hear from a couple of Bisons. We'll hear from Michael Latu and Dalen Markham, who had outstanding games on Saturday night, as Harding football with Ronnie Huckeba continues.
The earthquakes you see in movies are one thing, but real life is a completely different animal. Just because you can't predict an earthquake doesn't mean that you can't prepare for one. In the event of a real earthquake, you should drop, cover, and hold on. Visit ready.gov/earthquake and practice what to do to keep you and your family safe in the event of a real earthquake. And you'll be seen as a hero by your family and your loved ones.
Visit ready.gov/earthquake today.
Looks like it's done.
Don't let salmonella get funky with your chicken. On average, 1 in 6 Americans will get a foodborne illness this year. You can't see these microbes, but they might be there. So learn the right temperature to cook each type of meat. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
Welcome back to Harding Football with Ronnie Huckeba. Love to hear from Bison players after a Bison win, and we'll catch up with Dalen Markham and Michael Latu.
Well, we try to make teams one-dimensional, make them run the ball. So our D-line, they play great tonight. They go get the quarterback, make the quarterback throw it quick, and we're pretty good at coverage. So we try to get the turnovers, pursuit to the ball, tackle, and then that's how we do it.
You had your fumble recovery for a touchdown last week and then an interception this week. What do you feel like your role is on this defense?
I'm the guy that gets guys where they need to go. I tell the strong safety where to go. I get the coverages from the coach, and I tell the linebacker and the strong safety. So I feel like I'm the vocal leader out there.
You had a 62-yard run down the sidelines. Take us through that play. What did you see on that, and just go through that play.
It was just a basic midline right down the middle. Just line blocked it well, and just so happened to be open, and I did what I could to get the yards that I got.
What goes through your head when you see a hole open up, kind of like that one?
Just get as much as yards, score, but at the end of the day, just get as much yards as I can.
So Dalen Markham and Michael Latu, and I tell you, a couple of guys that had a great game. Obviously, Dalen Markham with that big interception, we saw that. But he had 4 tackles as well. And Michael Latu, he was a workhorse in the football game, just like we expect him to be. 18 carries, 136 yards, and he had 3 touchdowns.
When we get the be-back game going, Billy, we expect our offense to do well. And, of course, that's critical as we approach every week that we do that we work hard during the week to determine how we're going to get the ball to him and be successful with that part of our game. When we get that part of our game going, then our triple option game is going to be good. We're probably going to get the ball pitched, and it makes all phases of the game work well, and even our play action game. When the B-back is really rolling, then and he's getting to the second and third levels of the defense, then it's going to make our entire offense function better. So proud to see that.
Yeah, and that's the first time we've heard from Dalen Markham, gotten to hear him talk. But I tell you, he's been playing well from week one.
He has played great so far. And, all of our guys, all of our coaches, we know that we have got to continue to improve. We're not there yet. We have not arrived. We're not even close. And there are so many areas of our football team that can be better than we are right now. But when you watch Dalen Markham play the first 3 football games, you know that this is a guy that's having a huge positive impact on our football team. He's solid as he can be, and he makes plays when we need plays made. And I am really looking forward to watching this season unfold and seeing how well he plays and how good he can get.
All right, we have a question from a fan coming up after the break, and also we'll look at the standings around the Great American Conference after the break, and we'll look forward to this week's game with UAM as Harding this week with Harding football with Ronnie Huckeba continues in a moment.
We explore dozens of complex subjects, but sometimes the world sees college students as being the same, lumps us together. That's okay, because the world may underestimate what we can do as strong, responsible, highly trained, and confident Christian professionals. And isn't that what the world needs? Qualities taught one-on-one and valued by us all in a place of faith, learning, and living. Harding University.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
Welcome back to Harding Football with Ronnie Huckeba. We always love to get a question from someone besides me for Coach Huckeba, and we'll do that right now.
I'm Alex Valdez, and I'm from Texarkana, Texas. Coach Huckeba, with the way that the schedule is set up this year, with one game being at home and one game being away, instead of maybe 2 games at home and 2 games away, etc., do you like the way that the schedule is set up this year?
Good question. I do like it. Of course, if you've got 2 and 2, then obviously the 2 weeks that you're at home, it's awesome. But then you hit the road for 2 weeks in a row, and it's not so awesome. This way, we're able to get into a really good routine week to week, and fortunately for us, we opened at home, then we took a trip to Oklahoma, and now our away trips, for the next few weeks are in state. And so we don't have any overnight trips. I like that. Our guys can sleep in their own beds on Friday night, and we're able to, as I said a while ago, we're able to stay in a really good routine, in my opinion, as far as the way we practice during the course of the week and prepare. So it's a good schedule for us. Last year, we played 6 on the road and 5 at home, so we had the same schedule, just flipped, and the 6 road games, made it pretty tough. So we're very happy with the way the schedule works this year.
I love it because that way I know where I'm at each week. I know we're Searcy and we're away, Searcy and away, so it's easy to keep up with. This week we'll be down in Monticello. Coach, the conference, quite a race. Bisons and Henderson State now, the only 2 unbeaten teams in the conference right now at 3-0. Then you have 4 teams that are at 2-1. So this is going to be a fun race.
Wide open race still, with us and Henderson both being undefeated, that's great. But all of the teams that are 2-1, and even some that are 1-2, nobody's out of it at this point. Early in the year, I was asked the question, what do you think about the conference race? And I said, I think we have as much balance as we ever have had. Southeastern is on a roll. They played Henderson really tough in Arkadelphia at Henderson. Had a chance to win the football game at the end with a field goal, a short field goal. And then they beat Washita at home a week ago. And there are other teams that, as you look around the league, and one of them regardless of the fact that they're 1-2, is the Boll Weevils from Monticello. If you look, this is a completely different football team than we've seen from them. They are playing with a lot of passion and enthusiasm on defense. They've given up some yards and some points, but when you look at those guys, they are playing hard, and I guarantee you they're going to work hard and get after us this Saturday. And then offensively, they're as dynamic as anybody in this league. They have a receiver that's an NFL guy, in my opinion. Quarterback is really hot. They're playing together. Last week they had a running back that rushed for well over 100 yards against Arkansas Tech, who last year was one of the best defensive teams in our conference with a lot of returning starters. So we know that is going to be a really tough trip for us and a tough place to play. And we talked about it last night in our meeting that we have got to have a fantastic week of preparation. And when I looked out into the audience and looked into the eyes of our players, I saw, looking back at me, a bunch of focused guys, and I know we're going to have great practice this week.
And when you talk about UAM, they went over to Russellville last week and took that thing right down to the wire. You're talking about a good defensive team in Arkansas Tech and lost by 7 late, but quite a battle on the road.
Well, both of their games that they've lost have come down to the wire. Mm-hmm. And both of them, the opponents got off to a fast start and jumped out ahead of them, and they came roaring back and have been able to move the football basically at will during those times and score big plays and score touchdowns. So as we prepare, we've got to keep that in mind, and I know our defensive coaches are very respectful of the way these guys have played, and our offensive coaches are too. You know, these guys on defense play really fast and physical. They're strong. They have good talent. And so it should be a great ball game in Monticello.
All right, Ronnie Huckeba, always great to be with you. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Thank you, Billy.
Don't forget, we'll have the radio broadcast at 5:45. We'll start things up down in Monticello on Saturday night, 6 p.m. kickoff between the Bisons and UAM. That's all for this week's edition of Harding Football with Ronnie Huckeba. We'll see you next time.